Hey, y'all! I'm excited. It's a collab. Some of my favorite mamas and ladies here on YouTube are joining in this Meet the Teacher collab. Let's get into it. First of all, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Kayla. I am a second generation secular-ish homeschool mom to 2 kiddos and 1 on the way. And this is Ode to Abode, a place where I love to talk about all things homeschool, homemaking, mama life, and I'd love for you to join. If you are not subscribed already, make sure you click that button, turn on the notifications, and give this video a thumbs up if you're already having fun. I know I am. This is a Meet the Teacher collab, and I am stoked to be a part of it. It is being hosted by one of my all-time favorite secular homeschool YouTube mamas, Shauna over at Making Everyday Magic. I will link her channel below. If you are not subscribed to her already, you need to go subscribe to her because she's amazing. Along with Shauna and myself, there are a bunch of other amazing YouTube homeschool mamas that I know and love, and I know you'll love them too. So make sure you check out the playlist link also in the description box so that you can get to know everybody and maybe find some new to you channels. So the way that this collab is going to work is we all have a few questions that we are going to answer so you can get to know us a little bit better. All right, the first question is, how many kids do you have and what grades are they in? So I have 2 daughters. They are 8 and 5. They are in 2nd grade and kindergarten, respectively. I also just feel like it's my obligation as a homeschool parent to clarify and put out there that grade levels are, you know, a little bit loosey-goosey for a lot of homeschool families, myself included. I think that for a lot of kids, we do have learners that are a little bit asynchronous, meaning that they develop some skills a lot faster and easier than other skills. Some kids are just in kind of a grade range more than a specific level, and that's totally fine. Second question is actually a couple of questions that are related to each other. Why did you start homeschooling? How long have you homeschooled? And what is your homeschool style? So let's see how concise I can be. My why, I started homeschooling because I was homeschooled myself. I am a second generation homeschool parent. I went to public school for 1st and 2nd grade, and that is it. I loved being homeschooled. So yeah, when I got married and my husband and I were discussing having a family potentially, homeschooling was sort of always on my radar. Homeschooling was always what I wanted. It was always my preference. He was totally on board. And I'm very grateful that he's been as supportive as he has. As far as the specific reasons why, I could go on and on. There's a million of them. But I think the number one reason is the experience, like getting to share all of that time and all of those moments and memories with your kids. To me, there's nothing like it. I wouldn't trade it for the world. Of course, it's extremely challenging. There are days where I want to quit and send them to school. I think we all have days like that. But yeah, I love homeschooling. How long have we homeschooled? I like to say since the beginning, like literally since my daughter was a baby, I have taken an active role in trying to teach her things. My vocabulary is excellent, right? Yeah, I mean, just even sitting down with her as a toddler and like doing puzzles and teaching shapes and colors and the alphabet and numbers. We were doing that stuff from very early on. And then obviously, you know, reading to her all the time. She was like completely obsessed with dinosaurs by the time she was 3. And we just like studied dinosaurs for months on end. We weren't doing formal curricula. I didn't have a preschool lesson plan, but I still count that time as part of our homeschool experience because to me, we were actively pursuing learning together as a family every day. And I count it. So she's 8 now. I guess if you want to like put an amount of years on it, maybe 5 or 6 years. But it's really hard for me to be specific about a starting point up until now because I feel like we've just always done it since the beginning. What is my homeschool style? So I feel like the only word I can use to describe my style that's fully accurate is eclectic. I have looked into all of the different main popular homeschool styles. You know, you have your Charlotte Mason, you have your classical, you have your Waldorf, your Montessori, people who unschool or just do unit studies. There are a lot of families that have like found their niche method and style that works perfectly for them, and so they kind of stick with that. I personally find so much value in all of those methods and styles, but there's also a lot of stuff that I don't personally find works for us. So I kind of pick and choose what I like. I also feel like we are a little bit traditional and like schooly because my kids like love worksheets, they love workbooks. I really wish and aspire to be like one of these Charlotte Mason or unschool families that like spends 1,000 hours outside every year and you're out on nature walks every day. And realistically, we're not that family. I am not that homeschool mom. I think it's beautiful and wonderful, and I totally envy the moms who do have that sort of approach to their homeschool. But yeah, I'm an indoorsy person. Like I just am. We love being outside, we love nature, but we definitely don't do it every day, and I'm okay with that. I've made peace with it, y'all. So yeah, I would say eclectic. We definitely pull a lot from classical Charlotte Mason and traditional, but very eclectic. Okay, third set of questions is, did you have a brick and mortar school experience? And do you have any training that applies to homeschool? So I feel like I've already answered this. Brick and mortar school experience, barely, like first and second grade. That's it. That was my whole duration in a public school setting or any sort of formal school setting. Training that applies to homeschooling, not really. I am TESOL certified, which I got in pursuit of a career to teach English as a second language to kids in other countries or who were immigrating to the US. I didn't do that for very long. I probably wasn't very good at it. That's literally the only sort of training that I have in anything education related, other than just like my own personal research and, you know, reading books and blogs and sort of educating myself. No, I don't have any formal education training. Okay, fourth question is, what makes your perspective unique? That is a lot of pressure. Just kidding. I don't know that I'm like completely unique in the homeschool community. I feel like I'm meeting more and more people all the time who are very similar to me. However, when I first started my YouTube channel and my Instagram, I felt like there was kind of a gap. Obviously, secular homeschoolers, people who choose secular curriculum and resources, we are represented far less in the homeschool space versus very religious homeschoolers or people who homeschool for religious purposes and reasons. So that's one thing that I think makes everyone in this collab a little bit unique. The other thing is I am a second generation homeschooler. So I was homeschooled myself. I'm a homeschooled graduate. And maybe that makes my perspective a little bit unique. It doesn't mean that I know what I'm doing all the time necessarily, because all of us, I think I speak for everyone when I say we're all figuring it out as we go. No one has it figured out. However, I think because I went through that experience and graduated through homeschool, I kind of feel more confident in the outcome, right? Because I'm aware of my own gaps in my education. I'm kind of aware of, maybe some things that I'm doing differently than my parents did. But I'm also aware that despite all of those things, I am a happy, mostly stable adult. I guess like as happy or as stable as anybody can be in the world that we currently live in. I was able to like go out and get jobs and pursue my passions and hobbies and find ways to like live and function in society. I feel very confident that no matter what we do during our homeschool journey, that my kids will be okay. They're going to be able to like go to college if they want to. They're going to be able to get jobs, live their life however they choose to, because I was. So I think being a second generation homeschooler doesn't mean we have everything figured out, but it definitely takes a little bit of that pressure and fear out of the equation. Okay, so the fifth question is, do you work and homeschool? Yes and no. I do have a side hustle here locally in my city. I do a little bit of home organization and decorating consulting, but I don't take on a lot of clients and I don't do a whole lot of that. It's like few and far between. I don't advertise it. I don't like run a website for it or anything like that. It's purely on a word of mouth basis. It's not something that I'm actively pursuing or working on every day. I share content, obviously, on YouTube and Instagram. I do reviews. I am part of a review squad with Melanated Gold Homeschooling, which is awesome. If you haven't looked up Melanated Gold, go do so. They have a blog and a magazine and a bunch of fantastic reviewers on their team. I'm not like earning an income on any of this, at least not at this moment. So yeah, I would say it is work, but it is work that is driven by passion for homeschooling versus like necessity, because you need to provide income and revenue for your family. Okay, sixth question is, what is your homeschool schedule like? And then she put year, week, and day. So we kind of homeschool year round. For the most part, I do plan out a year in advance. I try to start with getting 36 weeks of homeschool, just because that's kind of like the amount of weeks that most people, most schools kind of go by. And then I will just put breaks along the way. I do have videos on my channel for how I plan out our homeschool for the year, and also like how I do my weekly planning. So I will put those in the cards and in the description box in case you're interested in seeing more of that. We typically homeschool, I like to say 4.5 days a week. So we have 4 days. We're doing about 3 to 4 hours, sometimes a little bit more, of more focused, structured learning on those 4 days. And then on Friday, we kind of have like a half day. Like we will do any catch-up work if we missed anything. And we also do like fun stuff like art, music, nature, field trips, that kind of thing on Friday. And it's more of a flexible day. So yeah, that's our schedule for the week. As far as our daily schedule, it changes a lot, but I will start by saying, as a family, we are late sleepers. We are night owls. An average day, I would say we're getting started with homeschool like around 11 a.m. or 12. Then we kind of just continue through the afternoon. We take breaks a lot. And usually we're finishing up around like 3, 4, 4:30, something like that. We just do what works for us. and I encourage you to do what works for you. Number 7, what is your favorite subject to teach? This question I love. So personal favorite, definitely hands down, history. I love history. I am by no means an expert in history. It's something that I'm actively learning alongside my kids. History completely fascinates me. I love learning it. I love sharing it with my kids. So yeah, I would have to say top favorite is history. Okay, number 8, what trait or skill is a strength in your homeschool or a weakness in your homeschool? That is a really interesting question. I think the trait that I struggle with the most that definitely affects our homeschool is perfectionism. I am a big perfectionist. I'm very hard on myself. It's very difficult for me to have spent time making like a perfect plan and then things going off the rails and not sticking to my plan. That's really challenging for me mentally, emotionally. And then once that happens, it's hard for me to stay motivated. I am very quick to give up on things. As soon as something's not perfect or not going according to plan, or I don't get like that instant gratification of this is working, sometimes I just want to throw it all out and give up. So that's definitely something that I have to actively reframe in my mind. Things are not perfect. Things rarely turn out exactly how you envision them. And that's okay. Like you have to just roll with the punches. And then as far as a trait that I have that's a strength, I think that my love for learning is my biggest strength in my homeschool because our kids really pick up on what they see us doing more than anything else. I feel like kids need to see us learning and enjoying it to be able to value that for themselves and to be able to see that it is a process. There is no starting point and ending point that are very clearly defined with learning and with education. Like all of us are and should be learning all the time. That is something that is just a really big value of mine. I am constantly researching, listening to podcasts, reading books, although I don't have as much time for that as I would like. But I constantly am showing my kids like mom is learning too. Mom doesn't know everything. Mom wants to learn more. That is a huge strength. And I feel like it has a really positive impact on my kids and on how our homeschool functions. Okay, question number 9. We are almost at the end. What are 2 things you wish you knew before you started? Hands down, I wish I knew that no matter how perfect the plan or schedule or routine or curricula lineup is, no matter how much time you spend researching it and writing it down, it just might not work. Like it might completely go off the rails. And when that happens, not if, when, because I fully believe it happens to everyone at some point or another. When that happens, it does not mean that you are a failure or that you are not meant to homeschool or that this will never work for you or your family. It just means that you need to try something different. Sometimes, even if something does seem to work for a time, it can stop working later and you have to reinvent yourself, reinvent your homeschool again. And I wish I knew that that was okay. The second thing that I wish I knew before I started was that you do not have to choose a specific style or method for your homeschool before you start homeschooling. This is something that I actually encouraged other moms and newbies to do. I was like, take this quiz and figure out what your homeschool style is. And like, okay, you're Charlotte Mason. Like, these are all the curriculum publishers that you need to go and look at. I do think there's some benefit with being somewhat familiar with the most popular styles of education or homeschooling. However, I now know that you don't have to perfectly align with any one style or method. And in fact, I feel like a lot of us just don't. I feel like some of those methods and styles were formed at a very specific time and place in history, and they served the purposes and the needs of that time and place, that community, that educator really well. But things change and every family is different. Every kid is different. I'm very glad that I researched what I did and that I got familiar with those terminology and how things work in those different styles, because it allowed me to kind of pick and choose what works for us and just kind of get my bearings, especially when you're going out looking at curriculum. They're going to use terminology to describe themselves. So it's helpful to know. That's basically it. I just wish I knew that I wasn't going to fit perfectly in a box. And that's totally fine. It's totally fine to not fit perfectly in a box. Okay, the last question, question number 10, is what piece of shareable advice is on your homeschool motivational poster? I'm assuming she just means like what motivational advice has helped me and then maybe will help somebody else. I think that the best advice that I can give to another homeschooler that's really helped me is just keep going and keep trying. If it doesn't work, if the plan is a fail, if your kid hates all the curriculum that you picked out, take a break, take a pause, do some research by all means, try to find something that's a better fit. But above all, just keep going and keep trying, because it does get easier. You will hone in more on what works for your kids and for your family. It gets easier with time and with experience, and you can't have that without the hard parts, the fails, the growing pains. You'll just feel more confident as time goes on. You'll feel more sure of yourself. You'll see the results. Overall, it just gets easier in that way. All right, y'all. Make sure you go check out the rest of the videos in this collab. I would also love to hear from you in the comments if you have any answers to any or all of the questions that we went through in this Meet the Teacher collab. I had so much fun doing this, and I want to thank Shauna again for hosting and coming up with these awesome questions for us to chat about. I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.